religion? I mean, I assume you're Christian, but
I'm a follower of Jesus Christ.
you have no specific affiliation other than that?
No.
I mean, what about how many times the Bible switched hands? I mean, how the diet of worms and all those big editing sessions done by the Vatican, or anything from Constantinople. What about how many times the Bible has switched hands and been translated? You don't think that, I mean, man is fallible, man has greed, so you don't think that man had the opportunity to switch around a few words, or maybe even change the perspectives? You said a second ago, it reads like the New York Times. Plenty of people won't read the New York Times because they don't think that the words are false, but they think it's very misleading. You don't think that's possible in its more than 1,500-year history?
Well, what you have is the authors of the New Testament dying based on their claim that they had seen Jesus Christ risen from the dead. Now, when you watch Catch Me If You Can, you begin to realize that that young man was very, very deceptive. And he posed as a Pan Am pilot, and he posed as a doctor in an emergency room, and he posed as a lawyer. The guy played by Leonardo DiCaprio hadn't done any of that, but he lied his way through it. But the point is, he lied in order to benefit himself. The first century followers of Christ who wrote the gospel said, we saw Christ risen from the dead. It didn't benefit them. It led to their martyrdom.
So persecution is verification?
If I claim to have seen something and you tell me, deny it and live, or else maintain that you did see it and we'll kill you for it, I can promise you, sir, you don't have to be a PhD in psychology to know human beings will crack under that pressure.
Well, yes, but maybe back then they did believe it. If someone back then saw the northern lights, they would be convinced that it was something from God. They have no idea that these are things caused by trapped ions in our magnetosphere. They didn't know that back then. There are plenty of natural phenomena. They had no idea what was going on. And so they more than likely almost always interpreted it as something from God. And yet what I'm saying is maybe they really did believe it was real. Maybe it really did seem real to them. Maybe they were convinced, but just because they were convinced and just because they were persecuted does not mean they were verified in fact.
We don't have a situation of the northern lights, sir. In 1 John chapter 1, the Apostle John writes, that which we've seen, that which we've heard, that which we have handled with our own hands, this Jesus we're proclaiming to you. It is a clear historical claim. We were eyewitnesses. We ate food with him. We heard him teach. We watched him die on a cross. And 3 days later, we saw him risen from the dead. And our buddy Thomas didn't believe us when we told him. And our buddy Thomas said, not unless I can see him with my own eyes, not unless I can take my hands and put the nail prints in his hands, will I believe. And suddenly Jesus stood there, walked up to Thomas and said, my man, right here, take your hands and put the nail prints in my hands. Take your hand and thrust in the spoon wound in my side, and Thomas stopped doubting and believed. So, sir, that's an incredible eyewitness claim. They are either lying through their teeth, or they're speaking the truth. The northern lights ain't got a thing to do with this. Seeing signs in the sky ain't got a thing to do with this. Having a feeling inside that might be indigestion that I call encountering God has nothing to do with this. This has to do with, we saw him, we put our hands and the nail prints in his hands. We talked with him. We ate food with him. This Jesus rose from the dead. That's the claim. They're either lying through their teeth or they're speaking the truth. If they're speaking the truth, it's the most important message in the world today.